This is a Power 98.7 podcast. Now we're talking. Subscribe to Power 98.7 podcasts in iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. There's more on power987.co.za.
Ayanda Tetiana is on the line with us. How are you doing, Ayanda?
Morning, Pubs. How are you? And morning to your listeners.
Fantastic, thank you. And Dr. Potterton, welcome. Hi.
Hi, welcome too.
Thank you. So, children do ask all of these questions. Children are wide open, sponges, curious. And sometimes, especially, at this time where we've kind of gone through this very strange COVID lockdown, political unrest, what is Donald Trump? The world is probably a little bit confusing to them. There is a school of thought that wants to protect our children and kind of shield them from what's going on. How do we shield and protect by being age appropriate? But also, do you recommend making sure that we don't hide anything from our children? So Ayanda, I'll start with you. That very delicate balance. What are your thoughts?
Listen, Pops, I've always said, for me, what's really important is having that open relationship with your children, because for me, the most important thing is that you might be hiding certain things or putting them in these nice little balls or whatever, but then your children are interacting with other people's children. And those children may be knowing this information. And then you don't want your child to get the shock in the playground, at school, and learn all these things that they may not know. Like, for instance, things like where do babies come from. If you tell your children, for instance, you still tell them about the stock nest, and then you find another child will talk about how their mommy has a baby in the bun, things like that. I really think that we have to start practicing having these open conversations with our children, just to allow them to trust and have this relationship with us where whatever they want to talk to and whatever they want to speak about, they know that they can trust us at the end of the day.
What's the role of the school in making these conversations happen and broaching how they happen?
Yeah, I'm a parent as well, not
Of
just
course.
a principal. I have 3 kids, so I've lived through these kinds of conversations and questions that children have. Children have thousands of questions, and my primary advice is to be honest with your child. Be honest and straightforward, and as you said earlier, know where they are in terms of their development stage and talk at that level. We've come through very tough times with COVID, and there's been a lot of stress in the lives of kids, and it's often come through their parents. Parents have been worried about their jobs. They've maybe had salary cuts. They've been at home with their children and having to teach them and keep them busy. And so the home is a very, very stressful place. The role of the school, I think we need to be sensitive to what parents are going through. We need to be sensitive to the challenges that parents are facing. And where we can, we need to support them. There's often not often, but sometimes there's a disconnect between the values of the school and the values of the parent.
Okay.
And I think that's also important, that you find the congruency. One of my preschool teachers told me on Friday, she said, well, will you talk quietly to this parent and just tell them, it's not really appropriate to let your child go to bed at 12 at night. So this child is carrying a cell phone and is being entertained by a cell phone, and the parent is letting the child, and this is a 3-year-old child, stay up till 10 at night. Now, that does call for some kind of conversation, a nice conversation with the parent.
Sure.
So it's I think schools can play a big role in parent education as well. Sessions, we have sessions on bullying for parents. We have sessions on what's the appropriate development stage and what should you be doing with your child in the preschool. those are kinds of things that schools could be doing as well.
It's very interesting.
I mean, when I was in school, I remember there were parent-teacher unions, and of course, being a child myself, I would never get involved with that. But I'm not sure what conversations actually happen there. Is it still happening? Is it something that happens? Those type of meetings, apart from parents' evening, which happens maybe once every term, are those? And right now, there's WhatsApp. What kind of conversations is the school having with the parents?
I don't want to pull out my phone and show you the parent WhatsApp now, but parents are very involved in their children's education, and we do have WhatsApp groups, and we get a lot of feedback via WhatsApp, and we're relatively responsive to those kinds of comments. Let me just give you an example of one of them. Recently, we had a WhatsApp that came up about the inappropriate religious images around the school. We've got the images that probably come from medieval times, Jesus, the white Jesus, red.
Because yours is a Catholic school.
It is a Catholic school.
Oh, yes.
And parents say, well, we're in an African country, and they're quite right.
Yeah.
We need images that our children can relate to. We need images that are appropriate for our country. Yeah. So our parents have views, and I think a lot of their views are correct, and they are important, and we have to hear them.
Talk to me, Ayanda, about in Dr. Potterton's example, if a child comes home and has those kinds of views, how would you support them to go to the school and speak to their teachers? How do you support your child in having a point of view and having the confidence to ask the questions, broach the difficult things?
Absolutely, Pavi. That's a very important question, because remember, we as parents model those kind of conversations. Yeah. So if as parents we don't even start to begin with to talk to our children about anything, they almost think that when they see an adult, they almost have that kind of same relationship that they have with us as parents. They're fearful. They don't know that they can actually ask anything. So it's almost like, when you're a parent, you have this journey where you're literally learning on a day-to-day basis. I mean, I know that even with some of the topics that they learn at school, they're really, really uncomfortable. But when you have a relationship, for instance, with your instructor, when you have with the teachers at school, and I know now there's your WhatsApp, there's your class dojos, they tell us in advance what's going to be done at school. We can communicate with our teachers. You can even ask your teacher to say, listen, I don't know how to speak about this. I mean, I know my son was recently doing the period, he's 12, so he was talking about doing the period adolescent research, and it was a little bit of an uncomfortable conversation for me. But I had to get out of my shell and say, okay, babe, this is what happens. This is what happens to girls. This is what happens to boys when they reach a certain age, and all of that. We want to have our children having this open mind to be able to see experiences from a view which will allow them to enjoy life and not always be shocked that they don't know what's happening in the world. And for me, the family, the home is where this should all start from. One of the things that I've done with my children is I'll always tell them that I don't know everything. I'm literally on a journey of learning. And I'm very open to saying we're learning together. So if I don't know the answer, ask the teacher to say, okay, Mrs. Jones, how do I answer this question? If I feel like I might not be age appropriate in how I tackle the different situations. And our children are so intelligent. Yeah. But it's up to us as parents to cultivate that by always having some kind of answer. And even saying, babe, I don't know the answer to that. Let's find out. Let's research together. Let's buy some books. Let's read. Let's find out. And then you can tell me it's an opportunity to learn. It's an opportunity to build a relationship which long term, when your child gets to their teens, will be so much beneficial to both you and your child.
You know, Ayanda, whenever you talk about modeling, I think that's one of the most important things, because if you don't know something and you pretend, that's what you're modeling. If you don't know and you say, come, let's find out together, it means it's okay not to know everything, and it's okay to ask further questions. It really gives them the benefit of learning how to be rather than just learning what the answer is. I'm always very impressed by modeling.
How to be. I mean, Ayanda, you mentioned it briefly, but when it comes to, let's say, issues and self, and these are young kids. They hardly know themselves, their minds, their bodies, and sexuality is one of those things.
But they think they do.
They think they do. I was one of those kids as well, always in the principal's office because the teachers thought I knew a bit too much, But sexuality, I mean, I just read in the Sunday newspaper, there's a psychiatrist who said, and they've been lambasted for this, they said, the psychiatrist, that they can cure or you can cure a certain kind of people. If you're queer or homosexual, it can be cured.
Oh my God.
That is a whole psychiatrist, that is wrong. What is the role of the parents when it comes to those issues? Because I remember with school, they'll just teach you about human anatomy, but not about sexuality. Is it the school? Is it the parents? Is there collaborative effort? How must those conversations be had?
I'll be honest with you. In my personal relationship, and it's because of the work I do, I want to be the one who models all of that.
Sure.
Because first of all, I'm very liberal in my views, and I would not be so happy with my children being too conservative. For instance, looking at people of different races differently, xenophobia, judging people of different sexual orientation, genders. I want to be the person who says, baby, that person is different, and we don't understand what they're going through. All of those kind of conversations. And as I'm saying, the modeling of that, of being that open-mindedness, starts with us as a family. And I know that because of our different religions, we may view these things different. But for me, the problem is that then our children have to go out into the world and work with other people of different sexual orientations and races and all of these things. And then all of these things will start to come out, and it becomes a bit of a crack situation where you're making this life for your child difficult. And yet if you just, even if it means you as a parent have to open up your mind to saying, you know what, I really don't know everything. Yeah. Let me read up about it. What does it mean to be queer? What does it mean to be this whole LGBTQ word? All of it, so that then I can have some kind of information to share with my children, because our children are going to live in a very different world from what we've been living in. And we need to give them the tools to be able to survive in that world.
So, Dr. Potterton, then it begs the question, what's the school's role in some of these bigger questions like sex education and identity?
We have to play a key role in sex education because it doesn't always happen in the home.
Yeah.
Often parents don't broach the subject. I have a long history. I'm an old man. I worked in rural areas. I was working in Guyana many years ago, and one of the teachers in a little village called Matlari outside Zanin asked me to come and work with her because I was doing work in sexuality education, and we worked with the chief and we ran a sex education program, because parents weren't talking about it. And there were a lot of teen pregnancies, and she said, Mark, we've got an issue here. And through that vehicle, we actually were able to pitch it at the right level. We used, I'm not a fluent Shetsonga speaker, but we use Shetsonga in our discussions and that kind of thing. At school itself, we have sexuality across the curriculum. So from when the children are small, when they're in the preschool, they need to know what are good touches, bad touches on their body. Yeah. They need to know, we don't actually open each other's pants and look at each other's private parts and that kind of thing. So those are ways in which you teach sex education. In our grade 6 group, and I teach the program there, we work with parents. So a letter goes out, we explain to parents, and then we bring in experts in certain areas. But we also deal with all the issues that need to be dealt with, and we deal with it at age-appropriate level and very explicitly. It's not, we talk about penises, we talk about vaginas, breasts, etc., And we don't pull the punches. And we do talk sexual orientation because we have many parents at our school who come from the LGBTQI and plus community.
Plus.
Community.
Yes.
And you must remember, those are children that are living that experience.
Right.
Yes.
And so when you talk about your mommy, your daddy, or dads and daughters dance, we can't have a dads and daughters dance. We have families that are constituted differently. So we have a parent and daughter's dance or something like that.
Yeah.
So we've got to be sensitive to that as well.
Is the current education system ready for the challenges of what we're facing and how the world is looking? Are we preparing these kids to be the global citizens that they're supposed to be? Are we doing our best? Are we really doing our best?
Well, we're trying. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're doing our best.
Yeah. What can we do? What can we do?
Well, it depends where you are. It depends which school you are. Our country is a country of a lot of diversity, and I'm talking about economic diversity.
Yeah.
So you've got schools that have got all the resources that could run through lockdown with online classes, and you've got schools where kids never went to school. How are those kids made ready for the future? We've got inequality built into our system, and we've got to deal with that. We've got to break that down, and there's lots of redress the government's been doing. But is it enough? Is that the question you're asking?
Yeah, it's not enough.
I doubt
it's not enough. Yeah.
You know, inequality is a very interesting kind of tough talk to have.
Yeah.
My son shocked me the other day. We drove past somebody who was clearly homeless and in need. And he said something like, Mommy, you have a bag at home. Can we put some food in the bag and give it to him? This is my 3-year-old. I don't know what's happening or how he intuitively he knew to give, right?
Sure.
How do we, where do you even start? If somebody doesn't have that kind of intuition, is it what they learn in the home, Ayanda, about being charitable? Where does that conversation come in?
Oh, wow. I actually experience a lot of that probably with my kids as well.
Yeah.
They're so good-hearted. And it's almost like a culture shock because I am not necessarily there, because you almost accept what you've seen, right, throughout the years. And they're younger, they're pure souls, and they see this and they see the injustice of it.
Yes.
And what I've been doing with my kids is now I've just been putting them in a whole lot of volunteering programs where I love this goodness of their heart, where their heart is at. And I want to cultivate them. I really don't want them to be like me because of the struggles I've gone through. So looking for opportunities like those where you can put them in volunteering programs, whether they're cleaning the streets, all of those small little things. And this doesn't require money. Probably one of the reasons I got into the parenting space is that when I was a young mom, right, and I wanted to know, how do I get my children to be, especially my son back then, to be this amazing person with having nothing? I literally had nothing. I was living in my mom's house. Everything was my mother's. But I was like, there should be a better way of building this child to be the father, to be the brother, to be everything in the future, the husband. And I really wanted to know how to do that. And that's really how my career started, because I literally said, there's no way it's just a money thing. And then I learned to say that it's actually a relationship thing. It's actually the conversations that we have on a day-to-day basis. It's actually my son correcting me sometimes on real issues where it's like, Mommy, actually, what you did there was very mean.
Yes.
And then coming back to say to him, you know what, baby, I didn't think about that.
Yes.
Mommy's mind was elsewhere. I was just thinking about, all these adult things, and maybe going back and apologizing. Sometimes I'll even see my son saying thank you on my behalf when we're walking together. And that makes me so happy, because then my dream of this young man that I want to bring into this world is almost coming to fruition.
Can I come in there?
Yes, please.
Yanda, I think you spot on there. What I like about children is they're so honest and open, and they challenge us.
Yeah.
They say, why didn't you give money to that person? Or you've got some food here, won't you give that man some food? Or I'm going to bring some apples tomorrow to give to the man. So I think we've got to listen to the children's voice as well. That whole relationship as the parent, the school, and the teacher, and then the child. We must listen to children in our schools, and they've got views, they've got opinions. We run a program at our school called 3 to 6, and it's a refugee support program. It runs from 3 o'clock till 6 o'clock on 3 campuses, and we've got children who are not in mainstream schools. And last Friday, this Friday just passed, they were part of our group helping clean up the Yixkay River.
Oh, wow.
Now, we go back to Ayanda's point. You don't have to have money to make a difference. These kids worked with our kids, and we collected bags and bags of litter on that river. So we've all got something to give, and we've all got a voice, and we've got to listen to each other in this whole relationship.
But I know beyond that, your school also does take the children to volunteer, or gives them at least opportunities of touch points with those who are less fortunate.
We do have quite a few programs of volunteering. I always go every year to Lesotho, and we work with a couple of places in Lesotho. One is a school for the deaf in Leribe. And the kids, it's a bit of an eye-opener for them because they're exposed to a completely different culture, rural culture.
Are you saying you take students from the school?
I take grade 6s,
oh,
yeah.
Wow.
And then they also go to a home with physically disabled children, and they're involved there. So I think children have got an ability, and they might get surprised when they have someone making grunting sounds because they don't speak.
Sure.
But once that is overcome, they then just engage and with them, and so I think children have a great ability to work with other people.
Yeah, I mean, just listening to you, Mark, I can tell that the work you're doing is from the heart, and it re-emphasizes what we stand for here at PowerFM. Just listen to the kids; they've got the solutions for this world that we're living in. Modern problems that require modern solutions, and these are modern kids. So thank you for the work you do, Ayanda, as well. Thank you so much. We always have these conversations. I also wanted to sneak in a question about how we were parented and how that also ties into that, but it's a completely different conversation.
It's a different world.
Yes.
Because even our schooling is completely different.
That's the thing.
I mean, it was a treat for us to have electronics. Our kids are growing up with, it was a treat, Ayanda. Like, you come from higher echelons of society.
Yeah.
What? You have a Game Boy.
Yeah.
Now, everyone's kind of got something electronic. It's a different world
has
altogether.
changed.
We can have this conversation in different iterations over and over. Ayanda, how do we get hold of you?
Okay, so I do a whole lot of parent coaching for individual parents. I run programs as well on social media. Ayanda Tetyana, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and my number, only for WhatsApp though, it's 078-170-1152.
And Mark, how do we get hold of the school?
Well, we've got a website, www.sacredheart.co.za, and you can just call the school and they'll put you in touch with me. I'm glad to work with parents and with children out there. My own expertise, where my research has been over the years as an academic, has been the area of school bullying. So that's where I've got quite a bit of expertise and experience.
Brilliant. We must have a more focused conversation on that as well.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much, Mark Potterton and Ayanda Tetyana, talking all things family matters, answering the tough questions and so much more. That relationship between the school and your role as a parent.
You've been listening to a Power 98.7 podcast. For more podcasts, visit power987.co.za or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.